Forget everything you thought you knew about the WTA Top 10, because the balance of power is changing right now. Face screaming in fear tennis. For years, women's tennis has been dominated by a familiar group of superstars. Aryna Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Elena Rybakina, Jessica Pegula. But suddenly, the hierarchy doesn't look so safe anymore. New stars are knocking on the door. Established champions are fighting to stay on top. And some of the biggest names in tennis are facing the most important stretch of their seasons. But here's the shocking part. The next WTA era may already be here. Toronto just gave us another massive warning. Rybakina reached the final after defeating both Naomi Osaka and Coco Gauff. Swiatek reached her first WTA Tour final of 2026. And the battle for the top of women's tennis is becoming more unpredictable by the week. So who is really in control? Who is rising? Who is under pressure? And which superstar could completely change the top 10 before the season ends? Stay until the end, because the player at the center of this new era might surprise you. Women's tennis is entering one of the most fascinating periods of the season. The hardcourt swing is here. Cincinnati is underway, and the US Open is just around the corner. That means every match matters. Every ranking point matters. And every major victory can completely change the conversation. The WTA's official Cincinnati preview described the tournament as the biggest tune-up event before the final Grand Slam of the season, with the entire top 10 entered. That tells us something important. The biggest stars aren't hiding. They're all coming for the same thing. Supremacy. Aryna Sabalenka, the queen under pressure. Let's start with Aryna Sabalenka. Sabalenka has established herself as one of the most powerful and consistent players in women's tennis. She has the serve. She has the aggressive baseline game. She has the experience. And she knows what it takes to win Grand Slam titles. But staying at the top is a completely different challenge from reaching the top. Every opponent wants to beat you. Every tournament becomes a test. And every ranking point becomes valuable. Sabalenka knows that the challengers aren't waiting anymore. They're coming. And they're coming fast. Elena Rybakina, the biggest threat? If there is one player who has made an enormous statement recently, it's Elena Rybakina. Toronto was a perfect example. Rybakina defeated Naomi Osaka in the quarterfinals. Then she came back against Coco Gauff in the semifinals. And suddenly, she was in another WTA 1000 final. The WTA reported that Rybakina entered the Toronto final with 22 WTA 1000 main draw wins in 2026, the most of any player, along with 26 hardcourt wins. That's not just good form. That's dominance. And here's the scary part for the rest of the tour. Rybakina is still getting better. Coco Gauff, the American superstar. Then there's Coco Gauff. Coco has already proven she belongs among the biggest names in women's tennis. She's a Grand Slam champion. She's a proven big match player. And she's still incredibly young. But the pressure is different now. Fans don't simply expect Coco to have a good tournament. They expect her to contend for titles. That's what happens when you become a superstar. And that's why every loss becomes a story. Every victory becomes a statement. Toronto showed that Coco can still be one of the most dangerous players on a hard court. But the competition around her is getting tougher. And that's exactly what makes this new era so exciting. Iga Swiatek, the comeback story. Now we get to Iga Swiatek. And this might be one of the most fascinating stories in the entire top 10. For years, Swiatek was the player everyone feared, especially on clay. But 2026 has brought a different challenge. She's been searching for consistency. She's been working on her game. And she's now adjusting to a new coaching chapter with Francisco Roig. Then Toronto happened. Swiatek reached the final. It was her first WTA Tour main draw final of 2026. And suddenly, people started asking a very different question. Could Iga be returning to her best? The WTA noted that Toronto marked her 14th WTA 1000 final and gave her 3 top 20 wins at the event. That's a serious warning. Because if Iga finds her best level again, the rest of the top 10 has a problem. Jessica Pegula, the experience factor. Jessica Pegula is another player who cannot be ignored. She may not generate the same headlines as some of the younger stars every week. But that's exactly what makes her dangerous. Experience matters. Consistency matters. And Pegula has spent years competing at the highest level. She knows how to handle pressure. She knows how to construct matches. and she knows how to beat top players. The new generation may be coming. But Pegula isn't simply handing over her place. Amanda Anisimova, the dangerous rising star. Now let's talk about Amanda Anisimova. This is where the new era conversation becomes really interesting. Anisimova has already shown that she can compete with the very best. Her power can create problems for anyone. And when her timing is working, she can make a top 10 opponent look completely ordinary. That's the difference between a good player and a potential superstar. You don't just want to enter the top 10. You want to stay there. And Anisimova has the weapons to make that happen. So here's the biggest question. Who will rule women's tennis when the dust settles? Will it be Aryna Sabalenka? Will Elena Rybakina take another massive step forward? Will Iga Swiatek return to her dominant best? Can Coco Gauff become the face of American tennis for years to come? Or will a younger star shock everyone and completely change the WTA Top 10? We don't know yet. And honestly, that's what makes this era so exciting. Because women's tennis doesn't have one unstoppable storyline. It has several. And Cincinnati is giving us another massive chapter before the US Open. So tell me in the comments, who is your pick to dominate the next WTA era? Crown tennis? Sabalenka? Rybakina? Swiatek? Gauff? Or someone completely unexpected? Drop your prediction below. And if you want more breaking WTA news, rankings updates, player battles, and the biggest stories heading into the US Open, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the WTA power struggle is just getting started. The old era isn't finished, the new era isn't waiting, and the battle for supremacy is on.